It's Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Since 2010, your weekly source for independent New York Red Bulls news and opinion. Now, from the Joe Goldstein studio, here's your host, Mark Fishkin.
The Red Bulls finally get that elusive second road win of the season in somewhat professional fashion. But a surprise win by Chicago on the road as well puts added pressure on this Saturday's Hudson derby. It's Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. I'm here with Daniel Rebain. How are you, Daniel?
I am doing okay. My football team stink this year. My fantasy football team stunk on Sunday. So I'm having a wonderful time leading up into this derby week.
All right. Well, hopefully Seeing Red will make you feel better. Inside this week's show, we'll look back at the big win at the worst team in the East, Montreal. We'll give our Bull of the Week. We'll look at the playoff picture. It's not a pretty picture. I have to say right away, just to level set. I don't want to get Dan sadder than he is. We'll preview Saturday's Hudson River Derby. We've got a great chat with NYCFC Radio's Glenn Crooks, giving us the lowdown on the blue team, and we've got an email as well. Before we get into it, the liking and the subscribing, please. Much appreciate it. All right, so the Red Bulls go up to Quebec. Interesting that both Morales and Berggren get their first starts of the year. I thought it was a really interesting choice by Schwartz not to play Edelman or Stroud, but to put Berggren and Doncourt on. And I honestly believe that pairing, Dan, generated a little more offense than we've seen.
Yeah, I think, well, when you look at the makeup of Ronald Doncourt, that's what he wants to do. He wants to take the ball from the back and bring it forward. But then you pair him with a guy of Berggren's status, and I think he complements what with what Doncourt wants to do. Berggren's a big guy. He's physical. He can move the ball. His passing is on point. He wins aerial duels. I think that's probably one of your, when you take one guy and put him next to another, that's probably the best combo that Red Bull could go with. I always thought that you would put Berggren next to Edelman because that would definitely stabilize, the back line a lot more, even though the back line's been really good these past couple of months. But I mean, if you're looking to generate some more offense, getting a guy like Berggren next to Doncourt definitely will help.
Yeah, agreed. And to his credit, although he was taken out in the second half, Morales was able to get into the attacking third and contribute.
Yep.
Right? Taking the ball to the goal line, spraying crosses in, dribbling it. Like, I was really impressed by him.
Yeah, no. I mean, when they were able to sign him this winter, I think that was definitely the hope was for him to come in right away and be the starter. But obviously injury kind of, delayed that. If you were going to Red Bull 2 games, you would see the brilliance of Morales. Obviously it's against lesser competition, but you can see his technical ability. I mean, he had a screamer this year with his right foot. He's a left back. So, that's very rare to see a left back with a right foot as strong as him. His dribbling ability is on point. He can cross the ball. We've already seen him get an assist in League's Cup with those set pieces. So I think him getting that fitness up, it took a bit longer than most people expected, but getting him in when the time matters the most, I think, he showed that he's ready to contribute to this first team.
Yeah, that's good. It's good stuff. The match for me had kind of like an NBA feel to it. It was up and back, lots and lots of shots taken. I think there was something like here. It's going to take me a minute. I think there were more than 30 shots in this match. I mean, this was really a track meet. And at first it seemed the Red Bulls were kind of unwilling to shoot early in the first half. Wiki Carmona, who, we've kind of been tough on this season.
31 shots, by the way.
31 shots. Thank you. I knew it was about right. Brought the ball down on kind of like a 2.5-on-1 or 2-on-2, and room to shoot, space to shoot, time to shoot, and it cycled back, and it's just like, I mean, you're talking about like mashing the A button. Like, it's very, very frustrating to watch his lack of confidence in really getting involved in the offense.
Yeah, I mean, I was on a pod yesterday and I called him, a cardio merchant. That's kind of what he's just been this year, and it's unfortunate because he has the talent. We've seen it, previous years where he has the ability to shoot the ball. He has the ability to link up play. He has the ability to beat defenders one-on-one, but just for whatever reason, he just doesn't do it anymore, and he reverts to turning back and recycling the ball, like you said. And it's unfortunate for a guy with the talent that he had, but he just keeps getting he keeps getting starts, and he's it is what it is at this point.
Yeah, I mean, in a world without a healthy, with Harper on the shelf and Lewis Morgan, who is injured or isn't injured, or there was an MRI or there wasn't, or
don't expect him back. That's
not expecting him back. All right, so the Red Bulls get on the board a really nifty corner. Forsberg, Duncan, Parker, the back post, nods it, taps it in. A little bit of contact in the box that I think freed Parker, but nevertheless will take it. And then 6 minutes later, Morales gets a Chupo throw and really shows his quality, turning, spinning, dribbling in, players diving at him. It's not working for him, and finishes to the far corner, going 5-hole to the far corner. And I mean, New York's up 2-0, and you think like that's it. Like the game is over, and lesser teams, and Montreal, you can absolutely make the point as a lesser team, is just going to stop and just play because they're eliminated and they're at home and it's not working for them. But they didn't do that. And to their credit, I mean, Montreal came out shooting. They were permitted chance after chance after chance. Carnell finishes with 6 saves in this match. Montreal hits the post. Raheem Edwards hit the post as well. But in the second half of this game, Montreal really, you could make the argument, could have, might have earned at least another a goal in this match, because they were very, very active. They were permitted to be to get great shots and good looks for the entire half. Excuse me. It was just a game where, while the scoreline would indicate that the Red Bulls won handily, they really didn't kill the game at any point in this match, Dan.
No, and I think that's just, you got to give credit to Montreal. Obviously they're down and out, but they didn't give up at home, especially. They were looking to get back in the game, and when you give teams that lifeline, even though they didn't score, but they kept having chance after chance after chance. And when you're giving a team like a Montreal who really has nothing to lose, like they're just going to keep going for it. So, got to give credit to them. I think that's something Red Bulls got to look at, is when they take, a lead with anything, not to just sit back and just try to hold on like they did a couple of years ago, where they would only score 1 goal and they're like, you'd have to pray they win 1-0. So,
right.
Yeah, that's something that the team's just gonna have to look at in video and be like, you know what, guys, we can't be doing this, because a better team like NYC is gonna make us pay.
Yeah, absolutely. To New York's credit, though, they did not concede at all. They didn't concede after either of the goals, which has been a problem over the last few weeks down the stretch.
Yep.
And it's Carlos Coronel's 50th clean sheet with the team, which is well done, second all time to our friend Luis. And so, do you have a thought on? Coronel for me is the bull of the match. Do you have another?
No, I think he's the bull of the match, because obviously you get the 2 goals in the first half, but being able to keep that clean sheet with all the pressure that he had on him from Montreal, the second half, I mean, that was just class from him. So bull of the match, Carlos Coronel.
Yeah, for not the first time. Now, unfortunately, a lot of these teams in the Eastern table have picked up their game down the stretch, because that's what you got to do. Here is what's left for these 2 teams. One of these teams will make the playoffs, and one of these teams will not. Everyone else above them will make the playoffs handily. You can see there the Red Bulls, as they've had through most of the second half of the season, are suffering through one less game to play from Chicago. A massive surprise that the Fire went in and crushed the Loons 3-0 on Saturday night. And so Chicago remains 2 points ahead. They have the Crew in Chicago while the Red Bulls tussle with NYC. Then the Wednesday midweek game at Miami, and Miami needs points just as much as anyone else on this table that has not been eliminated. But sadly, those last 2 games for each team, man, I mean, you could not be more different. Both Toronto and New England have been eliminated with nothing to play for. Both Cincinnati and Columbus. Columbus is currently in the 8th spot. They would host the play-in game, and they don't want to be there. They want to be much further up the table. So, I mean, New York could win out, get to 52 points, and not make the playoffs. And I put Dan on social media. The Red Bulls have made the playoffs with a fewer points per game mark than they have now 8 times.
Yep.
The Red Bulls are a 500 team. Again, they'd be 7th in the West. They are not having a historically bad season.
Mm-hmm.
They're having a kind of a meh season that we've talked about for a long time. They are a 500 team. And if they were able to win 2 more road games this year, they would be north of the line and maybe already clinched.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it is what it is at this point of the year. And you look at that schedule, and I knew when that schedule first came out, when you see Columbus and Cincinnati as your last 2 games, it's like, all right, something's gonna happen where those 2 games really matter. And when you look at that schedule, I kind of said it last night, and it's like this might be a hot take, but I think all the pressure is on Chicago, because when you look at Red Bull, right, they're on the outside looking in.
Yep.
You look at the schedule, they have 3 teams that are above the line that are going to make the playoffs. Sure, there is pressure on them to make the playoffs and keep that streak alive, but the cards are stacked against them, and I feel like that can allow them to play more free heading in these games, knowing that, hey guys, we don't even if we win all 3 games, Chicago could win all 4 and they make it still. So I think if Chicago loses, they need to hope that Chicago loses to Columbus and loses to Miami. Those are their 2 biggest games. Those are their 2 toughest matchups. And obviously Columbus needs to win. They're looking to get above that wild card line. Yep. And then Miami's looking for a home game or a home series in the first round. So big matchups. Red Bull need to do their job and win at home against NYC. So this is going to be a real, bumpy ride, especially if Columbus wins this weekend. This will be a real bumpy ride for both teams heading down the final stretch of the season.
And so, teams 1 through 4 in the East have already clinched. Teams 5 through 8 have not clinched. And there's 4 teams separated by 2 points.
Exactly.
So, it's squeaky bum time. Let's take a look at NYC. They're on quite a roll.
Oh, they are.
16-9-5 for 53 points. They've clinched a playoff spot. They're 4th in the East. They've scored 46 and conceded only 30 times in 30 games. Doing the advanced math on that one, they only concede a goal a game. 2nd best defense in the East, and consider they have points in 10 of 15 away matches this season, or wherever their home is. 5-5-5 on the road this season. That is an excellent road record, one that the Red Bulls would certainly want. 3rd fewest goals conceded per match. They are 4th in MLS in average possession, which will be interesting to see how Schwartz plays it. They are tops in the league in come from behind wins with 6, and that's happened twice in the last 3 matches for New York. Here, I mean, they are believing in themselves. Here are the last 5. The only loss to DC United, and you're going to hear us talk with Glenn Crooks against DC and Montreal. City is 0-3-1 this season. What? That makes no sense. You can make the argument that the Red Bulls being below the line might actually be a benefit here because City tends to play to the level of their opponent. They have a 1-0 win at Cincinnati, which is a huge win. A 3-1 win at Chicago, where they conceded first. A 3-2 win at Columbus, where they conceded first, at home, rather. And then this past weekend, they stopped Charlotte's 9-match winning streak. That's no joke. Thinking about NYC, comeback kids they are. Let's get that up there. As was alluded to, the city has been the comeback kids of MLS. 6 wins after conceding first is the best in the league. And they have an additional win from a losing position where they didn't concede first, taking their tally to 7 wins from losing positions. This has been apparent in recent matches. They've made it a habit. They believe they're always in a game. And in form, this team is 7-1-1 in their last 9 league games. I mean, they are as red hot as anyone. They're in a pole position to host a playoff game. They've clinched a spot. So what's changed over the second half of the season? The acquisition of Nico Fernandez has helped. And City has won 5 of 6 since his arrival in the summer. They found their replacement for Santi Rodriguez. And Fernandez is another dynamic attacker alongside Alonso Martinez, and Maxi Morales isn't getting any younger, so Fernandez has helped ease the load off. And Robin Hood, despite their uptick in form, this remains one of their issues, as I mentioned. Against teams that are in the playoff ranks, NYCFC gets 2.3 points per game. Teams below the line, City only gets 1.25 points per game over the course of the season. 5 of 6 of their last games are wins, and those 5 wins are only against current playoff teams. And their one loss, as I just said, was against a dismal DC United side that had already been eliminated. So this might be what the Red Bulls have going for it. Here's a picture of the Hudson Derby, the 32nd all-time meeting. Red Bulls still have a lead in the series, 16-11-4. A listless New York went to Citi Field in May and got thumped pretty bad, 2-0. The Red Bulls are actually winless in 4 regular season games against NYC. No one, of course, can forget the epic Eastern Conference semifinal last year where New York won at City 2-0. At home in this series, the Red Bulls are by far the better team, although the last time these teams played in Harrison, it was last September 28th, almost a full year ago, and that's when City got their 5-1 win, which had the Red Bulls. Actually, this was the game, Dan, that really triggered their amazing run to MLS Cup because they were soundly beaten so bad at home.
Oh,
and
so
I think
bad.
The players had a wake-up call in that game and said, guys, we got to get it together. And they did. Their all-time leading scorer, still BWP, let's go, with 12 goals. In this series, actively, only Duncan is on the active roster right now. Harper and Morgan are injured. It's 1 goal each. And here is what. Now, keep in mind that City plays Wednesday night at home against Miami.
Yep.
So, and again, as we have been talking about weeks before, Saturday's derby will be City's 5th match in 14 days. That's crazy. And so while we're putting this lineup on, Pascal Janssen may certainly be switching up the 4-2-3-1, which includes U.S. #1 keeper Matt Freese in net, who has 9 clean sheets in 30 games this season. Former Red Bull youth player Kevin O'Toole with 2 and 4 on the left. Raul Gustavo, a Brazilian with 2 goals. Thiago Martins has been there for an age. He's 30 now. Tavon Gray, the 23-year-old Jamaican, 2 assists from the right back position. The 6s are Andres Perea, former Orlando, with 2 and 1, and Justin Hack, the homegrown, 1 and 4. And Hack spoke on the Men in Blazers event last week, which I had the privilege to attend, which was really a lot of fun. Both Emil Forsberg spoke and Michael Bradley spoke on the Red Bull side, which was great. And then the attacking four is as potent as any attacking four in the league right now. Maxi Martinez is 38 years old, and he, he's 3'8". So the fact that he's 38, no, he's not 3'8", but he's not a very tall man. 2-7 this year. Nico Fernandez 1-1, but just joined the team. Alonso Martinez up top, the Costa Rican, 18-2. Wow. And in the hunt for the Golden Boot, he trails Sam Sturridge by a few. Hannes Wolf, who has scored against the Red Bulls on the left with 11-5. And so, sir, I mean,
yeah,
it's got to be 3. I mean, and if it's not 3, those last 2 games might be completely meaningless.
Yeah, so I will say that the NYC's game against Miami probably is more important to them than this derby match. Just because that matchup is 4 versus 5. Miami wins, they could jump NYC. So I think they're going to go all out on that. And that's a big thing that it's midweek as well. And what'd you say? It was their 5th game. When they play Red Bull,
Saturday will be their 5th match in 2 weeks.
I mean, that's insane. That could possibly help Red Bull. But, yeah, this is win or go home. You have to throw all your eggs into the basket. Everybody needs to play their best. And I said yesterday, this might be the dirtiest derby we've seen in a while. I think this could be it. I think Red Bull are going to leave it all on the field. I think there will be a red card in this match. There will be a million yellow cards in this match. So it's going to be fun for the fans, but is it going to be another derby match that Red Bull is going to be able to claw 3 points out of? I don't know. Chupo's been able to score. Emil's been able to do a lot of things for this team, but who else is going to be able to step up? Who's going to be that unsung hero? Because as you brought up, Kyle Duncan's the only person that scored against NYC in his career, other than Morgan and Harper, who are, not with the team because they're injured. So it's going to be interesting, man. And, obviously they have Matt Freese in goal. That's going to be a problem for Red Bull. He's probably goalkeeper of the year. He's having that good of a season for them down in the city. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be fun. So either Red Bull win this game and they're back in the hunt, or they lose and we're gonna have a very early winter.
Yeah, an early winter for sure. Important to note, and obviously this is a theme that we've talked about all year long, right? Chupo has been phenomenal. Right at the beginning of the season, we were thinking, he's an old man. He's 36, and how much does he have left? And over under on his starts were 17 that we were talking about. He's played 90 minutes 27 times.
He's basically played every minute for this club.
He's done everything that was asked. 16 goals and 2 assists, and Forsberg as well with 10 and 10.
Yeah.
And as the team noted, as MLS noted, this is the first time a Red Bulls player has gone 10-10 since Thierry Henry in 2014.
Yeah, Unk still got it.
He does.
Both of them.
Both of the Unks. The challenges, unlike the Grand Unk, both of the challenges is who's the third guy.
Yeah.
And this has been the story of the second half of the season. Mohamed Sofo had a decent look against Montreal.
The first half of the season, he was there.
He was there, stuck on 5 goals. After that, the next biggest player for goal creation, Cam Harper with 3, Dennis Yengar with 2. I mean, Yengar can't even get on the field anymore.
No.
But I agree with you 100%, Dan, that this is it. Like, if this is not a win, you can take those last 2 games and, guys will be playing for pride. And again, that is not something that we have seen in almost a generation with this club.
Since they've stepped foot in this building.
Yes. They have never missed the playoffs playing in Harrison. Ever.
Yep.
And again, at 12-12-7, they're not having a terrible year.
Yeah.
Now there are plenty of fans that will take that statement. I had a number of people walk up to me on social media when I was kind of posting like, this is a decent year for this team, and saying, well, they don't pass the eye test.
Which is true. Sure.
Okay. But you've got 2 double-digit scorers for the first time in an age since 2018. I can't actually verify that right now, but bear with me. For the first time in a long time, there are 2 double-digit scorers on this team. And as, Dax, I think, very correctly said on the pregame, it's the middle of the roster where people have not stepped up. And that'll be a nice piece for our lone email. When we're back, you want to throw out a prediction?
I think I'm going to stick with my 1-1 draw prediction. And it's unfortunate because I think, Red Bull, this could wind up being Red Bull's like one of their better games of the year. I just think NYC is just going to be able to find a goal like they've been doing this past, 2 months basically. So,
I mean, I'll call it I don't see. I'm going to call it a white-knuckled 1-0 victory where Coronel stops a penalty kick.
Oof, that would be great.
But it is going to be nuts. When we're back on Seeing Red, we're going to talk to the voice of Red Bull's, NYCFC Radio, play-by-play. Sorry, Glenn. That's Glenn Crooks. Keep it here. We're at the New York Soccer Roundup. It's Hudson Derby time. One New York-based team is doing very well. The other, maybe less well. I don't really recall a situation where these teams were in such a trajectory facing each other in a game that, frankly, means a lot for both teams, even though one of them's already clinched playoff. And so the notion is we're going to bring in a man that has been calling NYCFC on the radio since the team's inception. He just was a nice gesture by that club in recognition of his 400th match called. It's Glenn Crooks, the play-by-play voice of NYCFC. How are you, Glenn?
Hi, Mark. Thank you very much. Yes, 400 strong, and it's now 402, so we're counting up to 5.
All right.
If we can make it,
rolls on. The Red Bulls have had an uneven season, to say the least. They're a 500 team. They would be a playoff team in the Western Conference. They are not a playoff team in the Eastern Conference, and one of the reasons why is NYCFC is on a tremendous upswing with 3 straight wins. I think they're 7-1-1 in their last 9 in the league. Tell us a little bit about what's gone right for City since the teams met back in May.
Yeah, well, I was one who publicly said bang average New York City FC when teetering below the playoff line, on it, just above it. And honestly, at about the midseason point, or early July, I would say, they didn't look like a playoff team. Now, there are a number of MLS teams that'll get into the playoffs that don't look like playoff teams, but that's a whole nother Seeing Red podcast that we.
There you go.
No, I'll tell you what, because a lot was said about the lack of activity by New York City FC during the transfer windows, but the 3 players that have come into the fray. Mm-hmm. First, Aiden O'Neill, Australian international in the midfield. Nico Fernandez-Mercado, whose 7 goals and 10 assists helped Elche get promoted to La Liga last year. He's a DP, and he's playing like it. And then a central defender who can also play fullback, we discovered in the most recent game, a guy named Raul Gustavo, a Brazilian, 6'3", and he played for Pascal Janssen, the head coach for New York City, in Hungary at Ferencváros, which was Pascal's previous club before he took the job with New York City in his first season. Those 3 players have added, and that doesn't always happen. And you know what? They've adjusted pretty quickly, because that's always, especially Fernandez-Mercado, he's only played 7 games, but he came in and just started playing, without having this major adjustment that some of these guys in the summer have to do. He assisted Alonso Martinez on the road, the game winner, off the bench in a 4-3 win against FC Dallas right before the League's Cup break. So it's gone well since, and those 3 are part of it. But, of course, Alonso Martinez and Matt Freese have to be put into the equation at some point here.
Watching Matt Freese very quickly elevate up the chart for the U.S. men has been amazing to watch. I mean, he's a guy who I think kind of an unheralded guy, right, around the U.S. goalkeeping core, and I think his play for City over the last year and a half have really put him in the discussion to actually perhaps be the U.S. #1 goalkeeper next summer. What's your thought there?
Well, arguably, I mean, he's got to be thought of as number one at this moment. And I did a lengthy interview with Matt last year in the middle of the year, and it was interesting because he had become the full-time starter, beat out Luis Barraza, and he had sat behind Andre Blake at Philadelphia. He was never going to play there.
Right.
So, but New York City, when they brought him in, they felt strongly that he would eventually be the #1. And the biggest improvement and the biggest area that he really needed to focus on was his feet. I mean, it's modern goalkeeping, and the City Football Group teams, you build through the keeper. I mean, that's part of the DNA, and it's part of the requirement, really. He's gotten much better in that department, despite the giveaway against Haiti for the U.S. men's national team. But look how he recovered from that. And this is the most impressive aspect of Matt Freese. We're going back to the Gold Cup, where he played in every match, and he had one flub, and that was in that match, which the U.S. came back to win 2-1, right, where the giveaway and then the goal. But the way he recovered, because he had to make 2 or 3 really good saves after that. And that's the way he's been. He's mentally strong. He is so astute. Now, he's a Harvard grad.
Yes, he is.
So he's a studier. Look how he does it in the penalties. Well, he just saved a penalty by Zaha over the weekend against Charlotte. And then we saw what he did in the Gold Cup, which really put him on the national map with those saves against Costa Rica. So he's a studier of the game. One interesting note about Freese, and if you're not at the games, you don't see this. He comes out about 2 hours before kickoff every game, 2.5 hours, and we're up in the booth getting ourselves prepared.
Right.
And he has headsets on. He walks into the goal area, and he does visualization. And you'll watch him do footwork, and then you'll watch him catch an imaginary ball from one side to the other side. So he goes through all the machinations of visualization. And he told me at one point that he learned that at Harvard, that the entire team did that before every game. And I'm a big believer in it. So it's helped him, obviously, but the growth of Matt Freese has been impressive. And without him, New York City would not be in the position they're in right now. And
as we learned the other night at the Men in Blazers event, he's re-upped with the team, which I think is a real testament. I mean, he wants to be there in 27 when the stadium opens for sure.
He does, and now the challenge, if you will, for New York City FC is if he is the #1 next summer and has a couple of worldies, and all of a sudden people across the globe that maybe weren't quite as familiar with him, all of a sudden, you know how players earn contracts through those international events. Will he be in a New York City uniform through the year 2030? Hopefully, yes, when Etihad Park opens in 2027. I know David Lee said something to me last year, the sporting director. He hopes that Matt Freese will be a 300-game goalkeeper for New York City FC. But his stock has obviously risen, and a well-deserved 5-year contract extension. So we'll see what happens. But good news for New York City, no question.
One of the interesting wrinkles about City's, very good season, they have another 4 games left, and they're, competing. That they could be they could top the East if things go their way, but very competitive. They've clinched a spot. They're in the 4th place right now. The team tends to struggle against teams that are frankly poor. I mean, this team
no explanation. There's no explanation.
Sure, there is.
I've dug deep on this one. I've gone into the psychological dungeon to try to sort this out with Pascal Janssen and get him to kind of bite on some of these things. So Montreal and DC United, they were the first 2 teams to be eliminated from playoff contention in MLS, not just the Eastern Conference. New York City's record against Montreal 0-3-1. 3 losses. They have 1 point in 4 games against arguably the 2 worst teams in MLS.
Yeah, we talked to Sandra Schwartz all the time about the Red Bulls' unbelievably poor road record, and it's the same
Right.
thing. It's we're doing exactly what we're supposed to do. It just doesn't turn out that way. If these teams seem to be again in somewhat different trajectories. Obviously, for City, the notion that they could possibly knock out the Red Bulls in the playoffs, I'm sure, is very, very exciting for them. These games, though, you can tend to throw the records out. It's the biggest rivalry game among the best rivalries in the league. I guess the question is for City, where are they vulnerable? They're a very good defensive team. Obviously, the goals have come in bunches of late. They've won 4 or 5. If there's a Achilles heel to this team, where might that be?
Well, as with many teams, individual errors will come back to haunt you. And I would say a bulk of their issues during the course of the year, and it's really lessened, are the individual errors, really not collective errors. So that's one area that they've really shored up. And it's not any one particular player. But if I suppose if there is a weakness, is the fact that on occasion they will turn off. Sometimes it's during set pieces. We see on corner balls in particular where the opponent will get the first head on it. And you wonder, even in the last match, the victory over Charlotte, there was a free header at one point off a corner kick. So those things are perplexing at times, but it has been a work in progress. And that's part cultural to me, that you don't allow that to happen. It's not acceptable. And I give a coach needs more than a season to develop that, in my opinion. Unfortunately, in this business of professional soccer, if it's not going well, you're not often given that extra time maybe to try to build that sort of thing. But it has gotten better. And as far as the New York City Red Bull match, you're right. I mean, it's Red Bull will be fighting for the playoff berth. New York City, I think less so the joy of knocking the Red Bulls out of contention. It'll be more, can we keep in the top 4? And depending on what the result is against Miami, can we maybe even contend for the Eastern Conference title?
Absolutely.
So that I think that's more their thinking. And it's just another step of the roadblock. But so far, so good.
Yeah, I'll leave you with this. I mean, this Saturday night's game, and again, we're talking before City takes on Miami. It'll be their 5th match in 14 days coming into Saturday in Harrison. What is Jensen's attitude around squad rotation when, no one should have to play this many games in this short of time? It's ridiculous.
Well, the reason that occurred is because New York City was scheduled to play August the 9th against Columbus at Citi Field. And this is the issue with not having your own stadium, all right? Because the Mets came home from a road trip and said, the field's not in good enough condition for us to play. So they re-sodded like a high percentage of the field. So the game was postponed, and then that's what's really caused this glut. So far, it hasn't impacted them negatively. No. But the depth is better now with the addition of Fernandez Mercado, and more recently, Raul Gustavo. But Agustin Ojeda, who is just 21 years old, young boy, but he's starting to play his best football since he's been with the club now in his 2nd season. Julian Fernandez, another 21-year-old Argentinian. He has started to show his wares more effectively and more consistently as well off the bench. And then you have it's either Andres Perea or Aiden O'Neill in the midfield to join Justin Hack, who maybe moves into the midfield because Gustavo's now at the back. You have Tavon Gray, who has Micha Ilinic competing against him on the right at the back. And so there are a number of areas where there is quality depth, including a 17-year-old striker who recently scored his first goal and became the youngest player in MLS this year to score a goal, Seymour Reed. When Alonso Martinez needs a break. So I think there's enough depth to get through this period. But the Red Bull game will be the culmination of all that. So maybe the Red Bulls could take advantage of that.
I wonder the challenge of a coach getting your team up to play messy and then, oh, by the way, your biggest rival on the road. I mean, that's a tough assignment for any coach.
I think so. And we get back to the psychology. So in my pregame briefing with Pascal Janssen, I will once again be asking about the psychological, and still trying to get him to dive a little deeper into that area. But no, you're right. And but it's a fun time. Look, as broadcasters, as people who cover a team, anytime you're involved with a team, if they're winning, there's more joy.
Sure.
If they're losing, believe me, I'm miserable when they lose. And not because, I have to go down and break down film for 3 hours right after the game. And it's my team. It's not, and I think Matty Lawrence and I we aren't homers. We call the game as we see it. But you're with the team on the road, and you are definitely rooting for them to be successful and get into the playoffs where it really gets exciting. And there are glimpses of how this is similar to 2021, where a good portion of the regular year, you just weren't sure what you were getting from game to game. And then all of a sudden, they went on a streak where they didn't lose after the Atlanta tie when Gudmundur Thorarensen scored on a direct free kick. And that sent New York City on their way to an MLS Cup. I'm not suggesting that is in the cards. I'm just saying there is a slightly similar feel.
Well, you can root for teams to be felled by, viruses if you like. Maybe that'll help again, as it did in 2021.
Hey, who are you, Jim Curtin?
You brought it up, my guy. Glenn Crooks has called 402 and counting matches for NYCFC Radio. Glenn, enjoy the Miami match, enjoy the derby, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
All right, we've got more Seeing Red, your emails coming up after this short break. Keep it here. Back on Seeing Red. It's not like a professional thumping. Yes, the email. A professional thumping of Montreal generated a ton of email traffic. Because I think fans are kind of down on the team's playoff prospects. But you can write us anytime at seeingredny@gmail.com. And our longtime friend Rohan Chatterjee, longtime fan, longtime viewer, longtime listener, writes, "Hello, Mark and Dan. As we wind down a disappointing campaign, I wonder if the problem with the team is just about the lack of spending. Yeah, we could spend more on players and get that elusive third DP, but that doesn't guarantee success. See Atlanta. Nor does not spending guaranteed failure. See the Union, a.k.a. Energy Drink Soccer 2.0. I feel like the problem lies in our non-DP scouting. Emil and Chupo have been hits, but our rate of successful acquisitions feel very low. For every Noah Ayla, there are far more Youngars and Carmonas that are missing the mark. The middle tier of players feels barren and feels like this is a big miss in talent ID. Perhaps a move here would be just as impactful as opening the wallet for Timo and others. Maybe go to Ernst Tanner to provide the Godfather offer. Would love your thoughts. Thanks for keeping fans navigate another tumultuous Red Bulls campaign." That's Rohan in Edison, New Jersey. P.S. I look forward to the Red Bulls co-tenant in Harrison and Gotham FC, who also sat below the playoff line. But instead of standing pat, they broke a transfer record to boost their squad. They brought in Jaden Shaw. Coincidentally, they're now flying up the table. Food for thought. Dan, thoughts on Rohan's excellent article?
I've been saying this for like a year now. It's like, you have Emil Forsberg and you have Choupo-Moting. It's what else is around them? Obviously, we talk about the young players in the supplemental roster. They're doing a great job for what they're asked to do.
Yeah.
If Mohamed Sofo isn't a starter, like if he's like a spot starter and he's coming off the bench as like the first guy, he'd be having an excellent season. But when you're asking him to start 25 games for the first time in his young career, where he's coming from, an academy in Africa, and he's played, Red Bull 2 for a year and a half, eventually he was going to gas out. Yeah. So, it's unfortunate that Cameron Harper is on the sideline. It's unfortunate that Lewis Morgan's on the sideline, but, you got to do something. You got to give this team a lifeline, a spark, something. Obviously, they brought in Gustav Berggren, but he's a midfielder. I would say that was probably not the biggest need for this team in the summer. They needed wingers. They needed more pace in the lineup. And they didn't do it. Obviously, they put all their eggs in the basket on Timo Werner, and it didn't work out. And you know what? That's probably going to come back and bite them in the butt. Maybe they come back and get him in January, but I just don't see him as what this team needs. I see them needing guys to surround Chupo, not to play next to Chupo. So we'll see what they do, but Rohan, hit the nail on the head, man. When you have Alexander Hack, not in the rotation anymore, and that's unfortunate because I like his game, but he's just too slow at this point in his career.
Yeah.
When you got Victor Bogash, who you signed to be a U22 guy, and unfortunately he's injured before he even gets here, so that stunts his development. When you have who else? Dennis Gengar, who's just a bust at this point. Yeah. It's just a lot of names. Kyle Duncan, no offense to him, but he's too inconsistent to be making $500K on this roster. So, a lot of, even if they make the playoffs, which, is going to take a miracle for them to do.
Yeah.
The front office has a lot of work to do this offseason to kind of clear that dead weight and, give this team a chance to push for a top 4 spot.
That is at least what they say they're hoping for each year.
Well, they say that every year.
They do. It would have been lovely to be able to ask some pointed questions about that. Shame, really. Agreed on Hack. I'm looking at the roster right now. Bergeron, again, to be seen. Like, we don't know yet. I thought he did great the other day against a poor opponent. I mean, I think we can all agree that Wiki's development has stopped, and they don't really. He's not a winger. Like, we don't. He's a central guy. He's playing behind. He needs to be. He's an attacking mid, and it's just not working for him. Edelman, I thought, has had a good year. I think him next to Stroud, I think perhaps those players are just a little too similar, and we haven't seen, again, a year coming off of injury, we haven't really seen all that from Stroud, sadly.
Yeah.
Agreed on Yengar. Rafa Mascara is just getting going. By the way, Mascara was named to the Panamanian U20 squad
for the World Cup. Congrats to him.
Yes, and
he's their captain, by the way. So
phenomenal. And Serge Goma was not named to the U.S. U20 squad, which
not unexpected.
Not unexpected, but a shame nonetheless.
Yes.
Andy Rojas, TBD, and so you've got a lot of TBD young guys floating around, and then Rold Mitchell. Hello, where are you? Julian Hall again is a teenager. Oh gosh. I mean, has not really done, I think, what they had hoped. So, yeah, it's a lot of – I agree 100% with Rohan. So,
yeah.
We've come to the end of a terrific Seeing Red. 690. Certainly want to thank you all for sticking with us, watching, listening. Thanks to Glenn Crooks for stopping by. Thanks to Tech Feldman for stats. We're about to hit a really big milestone that we may hit with this episode. We are about to hit the 1 million download mark when you combine downloads and views on YouTube. That's mind-blowing. And yes, numbers can be manipulated, certainly, in stats and damn lies statistics, but it really is a testament to you guys for continuing to support this show year after year. So for all my co-hosts, Dan, of course, and all of the other co-hosts, past and present, I want to thank you guys for helping us get there, because that's amazing. Dan calls this a
1-1 disappointing draw, but a great game overall.
Hockey season starting soon.
Yes.
Preseason has begun. I'm going to call it a nail-biting 1-0 win, and let's hope we walk out of the arena happy on Saturday. If you are around City fans, please be respectful. Nobody wants anything stupid to happen. and especially given where the teams are on the table. I mean, it's understanding that Blue fans might want to spike the football a little bit, but don't buy that. Just give them a salute and send them on their way. Hopefully they can find their way back to the train. All right. Thanks so much for watching episode 630 of Seeing Red. We will be back next week to pick through the wreckage, as always, on Seeing Red. Have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.